Hello everybody and welcome to the Lagerkungen race day here from Interlagos as we embark on our penultimate round of the road series here from the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan 2024. Myself, Ian and Cam Roger will be with you again for the next couple of races and indeed the last couple of rounds of this series. Cam, we're getting to the end already and it's Henrik Lindhoff who's currently leading the way in the standings. Can he hold on in these final four races?
Yeah, it was a very interesting one last time out at the Red Bull Ring with Lindoff and his teammate Jesper Eriksson going 1-2 in both of the races, but swapping those positions. Lindoff winning heat number 1 and Eriksson winning heat number 2. It's certainly been a fierce battle between those two, but Jesper Eriksson with a couple of DNFs and whatnot to his name is lacking in terms of the standings.
It certainly is. Let's have a look at those standings, or indeed the schedule, I should say, because I forgot it's not the last round, of course. It is coming up in 2 weeks' time. That is at the Indianapolis road course. Already been there, of course, for our Indiana 400, which was a lot of fun, but we'll be going the wrong way around the oval and then turning right on the front straight instead in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully, by the time we get there, we're going to have an interesting championship finale as well, because the amount of points that Henrik Lindoff would need to be clear is pretty big, really, and probably too big. But let's see how tonight goes. He's leading currently by 36 points, with Edvin Forsund 45 points behind. Daniel Holmer and Jesper Eriksson are the last drivers within 100 points, with Robin Östlund, who lost a couple of positions last week, now 6th place ahead of Oscar Fredriksson. Then it's Melvin Axon, Alvin Manson and Oliver Wallin. The drop rounds have been applied, or one of them, sorry, has been applied, as you can see on the top there. If you were to apply one more, Forsund would be 39 behind, and Hagström, I think, would be 42 behind, something like that, in the low 40s anyway. So he would reverse positions with Edvin Forsund, but it would still give a lead to Henrik Lindoff. And that's the situation we've got, really, going into the final 4 rounds of the championship. It's still pretty close, but I would say that Henrik Lindoff is a relatively overwhelming favourite at this point now.
Yeah, he's looking very strong, isn't he? But he needs to seal the deal, and with 2 drop rounds and of course 2 rounds still to go, that means if you have, basically 4 bad races to the end of the season, then all your points already are going to be what's scored, and if you have any bad races in there, you can't reverse them. So these final couple of rounds are the opportunity for some drivers to gain some more points and try and negate any bad races that they had. For the likes of Jesper Eriksson, that is a good one, because with this couple of DNFs and whatnot, he will be able to discount them from his total, and then of course jump up the order therefore, whereas Lindoff being pretty much on average all the way towards the front, his points aren't going to change too much more, as we're seeing Vigju there going up into 3rd place, Forsland going into 2nd, so the top names going to the front already.
They are. Lindoff only 8th as things stand, so he's going to need to improve from there, with his 2 main rivals doing rather well up towards the front. Any driver with designs on winning the championship, by the way, needs to be within 103 points at the end of today. Jesper Eriksson is the last driver of those. It would leave us with 5 if tonight was the last night. 5 would still be able to win the title, although if there are less than 30 here, it could get more tricky, and indeed there are only 23 here today, so it could be quite a lot more tricky in the last round in 2 weeks' time. We'll see though, as Robin Östlund now comes out of the final corner and makes his way up towards the line. Couple of positions lost, as I say, 2 weeks ago from him, down to 6th place in the standings. What can he do in this qualifying session as he makes his way over the line? That's going to be pretty close to pole, and it is 2nd, just behind Manson, who takes the best time.
Top 3 within half a tenth of a second. That is some very close times up towards the front. Here is Henrik Lindoff, the number 8 in P8 as it stands, but of course your championship leader, and he will try and get the shortest run to the line. Of course, the old pit entry still in use here, so keep it as tight to the barriers as you can. And across the line, he's going to go a couple of tenths off though, and he's still going to be up there on the 3rd row in P5, but still needs to find a little bit more.
He's at least in with the other championship contenders though, which will be the main aim for him today. Stay with them. Don't let them get any closer, because that could get tricky in 2 weeks' time. Peter Holmberg moves up to the top 10 as well. You can see on the left-hand side, as we follow Alexander Olsen here through the middle sector now. A very, very different part of the lap, this one, compared to the 1st and 3rd sectors here at Interlagos. It's such an interesting circuit for racing, and we don't see Indy cars go around here in real life, so very interested to see how they're going to race around this circuit. I'd imagine they're going to race pretty well.
Yeah, it's it of course is a Grand Prix track, but it is somewhat Americanized in quotation marks, you could say. And I do think it is going to suit these Indy cars pretty well. Of course, you have this long, I was about to say, called it a long straight. It's not really a straight, is it? It's the final 3 corners of the track make up this start-finish straight as you work your way in towards the first corner. That is no improvement from Olsen by a good couple of tenths, actually. So he needs to find something on the final lap or so with just under 3 minutes remaining.
This is Daniel Holmer in the final corner, the last driver within a second of the current pole time set by Albin Madsen at the front of the field. So he's doing rather well, and we'll see whether Holmer can get anywhere close to him as things stand through the final corner now for Holmer. It's looking decent, and he is a few tenths improved on where he was before and moves into the top 10 as well. So plenty of change actually in the lower half of the top 10, but the top half at the moment looking fairly secure. In fact, all of the top 6 have backed off on laps at the moment, or indeed they're setting themselves up for a lap to come with just 2 minutes to go. There's either going to be a last lap chance for someone, or indeed the top 6 are going to be pretty set in stone with where they are currently.
Yeah, and I've just realised, yes, but Ericsson is not here tonight, so his championship charge is certainly going to be hindered quite a bit with that after already missing a round. So that means if he misses a couple, then every one of the other races are going to be his counted races. No drop scores as such for him. And then with some DNFs in there, that's going to be some big points gaps to overcome in the final race. And in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time. But here is Henrik Lindhoff as he works his way through this middle sector. Such a fast sequence of corners. Then you work your way down into these 3 hairpins back to back, but they are all completely different.
By the way, with 23 on the grid, I think that means that anyone at minimum would score 16 points today, and that I think would put Jesper Eriksson out of championship contention mathematically as well. So I think it's over for him, but he probably realised that from quite a long way out, to be honest, as Henrik Lindhoff makes his way through the final corner now. It's the final real corner, really. And then, as you say, that long, not quite straight, the last 3 corners of the circuit that are completely flat out in almost every car. Sundström moves his way up to second place, can't quite get ahead of Madsen. What about Henrik Lindhoff? No, he can't go there either. Does he move ahead of Forsen at least? No, he can't even do that. So Lindhoff is going to be starting at the very best, by the looks of things, in 5th place.
Yeah, that is, I mean, it's tight up towards the front though, isn't it? It's not like he's massively far off in terms of the lap times. It is just stupidly close in that top 10 with just a couple of tenths separating quite a few of those drivers. Here's Rob Eriksson in the 35 machine coming up towards the line. He's going to an 18.4. Of course, be second off the pole position, down in 14th place. He remains with just a couple of seconds remaining in the session.
Final seconds ticking down now. Robin Osson, the only driver out there in the top 3. The others are in the pit lane, but he's not going to be able to get to the line anyway. So that will be the session. 21 of the 23 drivers who entered in the session have actually got lap times on the board, with a couple missing out at the bottom. It's Albin Madsen who's taken pole here at Interlagos ahead of Mikael Sundström. The nearly on-pace drivers locking out the front row here tonight. Robin Östlund and Edvin Forsund are on row 2 ahead of series leader Henrik Lindhoff. It's Oliver Hagström figures you in 6th off the start. That's 4th, 5th and 6th, the top 3 of the championship, all nose to tail. Alexander Olsen and Oliver Bohlin will be on row 4 ahead of Tony Uvinen and Daniel Holmer, with Jokfrist and Peter Helmbro missing out on the top 10. Cedric Holmbom and Robert Eriksson are sharing row 7 ahead of Oscar Motin and Hakan Schott. It is Philip Hahn and Bjorn Broström sharing row 9 ahead of Kasper Björk and Kalle Wallenström, with Sami Josensu, Marcus Hagman and Marcus Stiller rounding out the grid. We'll see whether Hagman and Stiller do get onto the grid. I don't believe Hagman actually set a lap time at all, so we'll see whether he joins the race. There's the information on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. 17 laps in this opening race and no tyre change, but there will be one in the second race, of course. Usual stuff for at the instant limit, etc. Drive through these days. And so, we'll see how the racing actually is on this circuit, as we've already discussed, but it's going to be a dash opening race, of course. 17 laps here to begin with, and a pretty important one for Forsund and Oliver Hagström figures you. I think they really do need to gain some points on Henrik Lindhoff, who's starting this race from 5th place.
And one thing that we saw last time was the wrong tyre choice by the nearly on pace team. They chose the primaries for this sprint race to open the day. Of course, no pit stop required. They chose the primaries and they were just simply slower. They didn't gain anything in the latter parts of the race, and they just weren't able to keep the pace going, and that is why Lindoff and Ericsson got that 1-2 finish. So I do hope that they've learned from that and they come back. It does look like the 899 there is going to be on the red stickers, and also his teammate Manson as well. So they've learned their lesson from last time, because the track length is basically identical to the Red Bull Ring last time out. So the lap counts are the same as well. So hopefully they should learn from that one. But it does look like alternates there for the start of the race, so basically everyone at the front at least.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we didn't really get to the bottom of quite why they did that, to be honest. I didn't see anything other than a mistake, to be honest, 2 weeks ago for them to have done that. But clearly they are strong in qualifying. My concern would be, no matter what tyres they've picked for this race, how's their race pace going to be in relation? This is the tyre compounds. Helmbro and Hahn are the only drivers who have selected the primaries here for whatever reason. But yeah, we'll see whether Madsen and Sundström have better race pace this time around, or whether it could be a struggle, even though they've locked out the front row.
I think they're going to be a lot more fast in this one compared to what we saw a couple of weeks ago, and in general they are looking fast. They've got 3 of their cars up inside the top 6 in qualifying, you know, fixed setups and all of that, but they've worked it out and they've got the car working for what they like. 17 laps of action, but they got some fast guys in behind. As you say, top 3 of the championship at the back end of your top 5.
Yes, indeed. 4th, 5th and 6th, the 3 main championship contenders. I think there's an outside chance for Daniel Holmer to maybe get involved in the fight, but maybe Robin Ostlund and Oscar Fredriksson as well. But really it is about the front 3 in the championship. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed to see who comes out on top, because Lindoff has not taken the pole and he's not shown himself to be the fastest by any means in that qualifying session. The pace truck pulls into pit lane and nearly on pace, locking out the front row. Are going to get us underway here from Interlagos. It's the Lagerkungen race day from Interlagos, and a good start from Manson. Sundström getting attacked on both sides here in towards turn number 1, although he hangs on at least to 3rd. Oh, there's a big crash in the background and into the wall there for a few drivers who go back out into the middle of the road as well. What a disaster that is, I'm afraid, for many drivers. Henrik Lindoff is one of them. I thought he might have been the series leader, is in the wall.
Yeah, we had, of course, his teammate Olsen as well, who's now out of this race. Ready further contact down in towards turn 4. There's one of the Sim Race Sweden cars getting involved. Is that Holmer? I think it is. That is an unfortunate start for him. Forsund as well, one of your championship rivals. He was involved in the number 27 machine in one of those incidents.
Oliver Hagström is the only of the 3 championship contenders to have survived. In fact, he's the only one of the top 5 in the championship to have survived the opening lap, because it was indeed Holmer who went off at turn 4 as well. What a chaotic start, and there's smoke coming here. I don't think it's from an engine or whatever. I think it's just a lock-up going in towards the right-hander at the Pico de Pato. This is on board with Cedric Holmbom as we're looking at Hagström and Uvenen. Oh, and he's been hit. He's been hit there as Hagström, by the looks of things, by Uvenen, who gets it wrong. And here goes Cedric Holmbom on the inside for 5th place.
Still side by side, we work our way through the final kinks of the track. Holmbom needs to try and find his way through, but he hasn't got the slipstream, unfortunately, as the teammates working together to try and get involved in there. We'll always go 3 wide down in towards turn number 1. That surely isn't going to work out. Someone's going to have to back out, and it is going to be in the background, unfortunately, Uvenen. Oh, huge further contact. What is going on here? The number 10's involved. 3 cars getting some contact. Motin got involved in that one. Definitely some weird contact and damage as we're going 3 wide down the back straight.
That car's not going anywhere in the background. Just 3 wide, here we go. Hahn prevails by the looks of things. Philip, oh no, another one! Another crash. Oscar Motin has gone off this time around. These cars are bouncing like I've never seen before. They are going all over the place. The amount of crashes on lap 1 here is even bigger than Belle Isle, which feels quite wrong to say, but it's true. This is a remarkably chaotic start.
Yeah, I think, of course, the drivers, they're pushing the limits, but there's certainly been some funky contacts going on that have exaggerated the mistakes of the drivers, as we're still seeing. This is Harne's got Bjorka trying to come around his outside as we come downhill in towards Jinsao, and it looks like Harne's going to hold on to that position as we come out onto the straight. But that's really about 4 incidents on the opening 2 laps. They've taken out multiple drivers. We've got basically half of the Sim Race Sweden team down pit lane.
Yeah. Half the field in its entirety down pit lane. 3 wide again for 6th place this time. Philip Hahn involved again. This time not prevailing though. He came out the other side first at turn 4 when the last was 3 wide, but not this time, and more contact there by the looks of things. Or in the grass for Wallingstam this time.
Yeah, Wallingstam was trying to make a double move there. He almost got it done, but a bit of contact through turn 2 hasn't worked out for him at all, and now he's gone back behind the pair of them. So that is a nice position there for Bjork, as he's going to be going out the way. So the top 5 have got away massively, the top 3 even. They're going to have a comfortable run to the end. I don't think anyone in the mid-pack is going to be chasing them down with the gaps that are formed due to all of these incidents.
What a bizarre start. This is the opening lap incident. Alexander Olsen was the one who got into the wall. But there was or got into the air, I should say. There was a separate one, though, for Lindhoff. Now, it was, I think, slight contact between Lindhoff and another one of the Sim Race Sweden drivers. Let's have a look on board with Hakan Schott here as we try and pick. This is further back. This is at turn 1. They didn't even make it to 2 before Hakan Schott was spun round the wrong way. This is what happened to Edwin Forsland, who was also caught on it. So it was Forsland and Lindhoff who made a bit of contact there.
Yeah, it's weird to see from that angle, actually. I definitely think Lindhoff didn't. Oh, God, that's a complete misjudgment there. And then 4 cars involved in that one. That is just absolute carnage. The drivers trying to find their way on the track, but it seems like every little incident and the car is just falling apart. That's way too late on the brakes for Peter Helmbro. Then he pinches them on the inside. Homer was on the inside of him there, and that's ended in him being on the roll hoop.
That is a driver error, I think, to put it lightly. Oliver Hagström-Viggersjö has made his way through the chaos, though. He's in 4th place. Now, Henrik Lindhoff is back out again. Forsland has not yet done his repairs. He's still repairing his car, and that could be quite bad for him. As we have a look at what happened to Uvinen. I mean, that was weird contact to so strange to see so much contact here early on. I mean, the races just haven't been like this so far, but this one has been really an outlier, to be honest, in lap 1 incidents.
Absolutely, and oh my word, yeah, I mean, nothing that Motin could do there. Big shame for him. He's just sort of on the outside. I mean, he's just the tiniest bit of contact, but it just seems so exaggerated today for all of the contacts on the server. So let's hope that can continue to get a bit better as the night goes on. As you come back to the front of the racing that we've got, so Viggersjö, he's completely lost the top 3. They're quite far behind, over 5 seconds, but he has Jukka Frisk in the 25 chasing him down.
At the moment, he'd be gaining 18 points, would Hagström. Don't forget, he started over 40 behind, so this wouldn't even knock half of the deficit off. As that's Tony Uvinen going for a spin out the final corner. We're on board with Kasper Bjork now in 7th place as they battle with Philip Hahn here for 6th for Wallingstam, Hagman, Stiller, Broström. All the in behind here as well. There you can see them on the right-hand side. Oh, he's looking towards the inside line. That's a very narrow gap there for Bjork, but he's done it.
Oh, there's a little issue there for Hahn, and it continues on. Wallingstam behind, of course, these had some contact a little bit early in their battle that they were having. Definitely some push to pass being used by Bjork and not Hahn coming up the hill in towards Ferradura, and that has swapped them around. Hahn was involved with some of the contact on one of those replays in turn 1, so he might have the tiny bit of damage, and he's got a whole train of cars coming in behind him now.
This is the big group in the race, really. The field, for the most part, has been split apart by this opening carnage that we've seen, but not here, not quite in this group as they make their way round the final corner now and up towards the line. Wallingstam getting pretty close here to Hahn, and there he goes, looking to the inside line, and he gets it done. Hahn gives him the room on the inside line and loses 7th place. Here comes Marcus Hagman as well.
Yeah, Han, I've only just realised he's on the primary tyres. So, of course, he's going to be a bit slower in that regard as well, as he now needs to be looking in his mirrors. Hardwin, who started from the back row, or the penultimate row of the grid, is going to be trying to make that move. That might be a little bit easier of Han running wide, but he actually still somehow gets the run up the hill with 2x2 in the background as well. Trying to see who that is, trying to go a bit of side by side. Might actually be one of the back marker cars. Might be Motin actually, who's a lap down, just letting some traffic through.
I think it's Broadstrom and Shop there going side by side in the background. Could be wrong. In towards turn 10 they go, and Philip Hahn on the defensive from Heitmann again here after doing pretty well to fight his way up into 6th place. Philip Hahn, he's starting to drop backwards already now that the race has just settled down a little bit, and thankfully it has settled down from the opening laps where it was just chaos everywhere. Thankfully that has very much subsided and we can settle in here, but Albin Manson is still leading the way. Robin Nosland is second. Mikko Sundström struggling early on in the stint again. He's nearly 3 seconds off the lead.
And one thing we have in this series, remember, is the top 20 reversed for the feature race a little bit later. So that's why Lindhoff is getting back out there, because he's currently P16. That'll be a third row start, I should say, for the feature race. So he's going to be still getting some points in this race, and then he still has the opportunity to win the next race. So that is why in this this format, you just got to keep going. And of course, with the field being just a couple of drivers lighter than normal, that gives an opportunity for almost all of the drivers to be reversed.
You've got to stay in, especially if you're in the championship fight, especially when you're Lindhoff actually, and your worst result that still counts towards our points is 19th for him. So this is very much counting towards his actual score, even when you apply drop weeks here. As I mentioned earlier, you get 2 of your worst races written off. And this, at the moment, for Lindhoff, despite the disastrous start, is still not one of the worst races he's had this season, which feels quite mad to say, but sort of underscores the fact, and this was true before this race, but certainly is now. Everybody has had issues this season at some point, even with the drop weeks applied. Lindhoff is carrying through some pretty bad scores.
Yeah, it's been such a tough season for these drivers trying to fight for the championship. A, the car, B, the format, and C, a couple of the circuits as well have been very difficult for these drivers to try and get the consistent results going. Even in such a short championship like this, we only have 7 rounds of action, and only one of them actually is obviously not a double race either. At the Indy 400, that was just a 1-race championship. It's just 13 races on the board, and every single one is really going to matter in terms of your championship position. So I wonder how far Lindhoff could get, because he might actually, I guess he's a little bit far, about 10 seconds off Dan Homer to get another place.
I wonder whether these drivers will be blaming the circuit for the opening lap carnage, because I personally think it was just a bit of clumsiness on the part of everybody early on in this race. That created all sorts of carnage that we're now dealing with. It's thankfully quieting down quite a lot now as we approach half distance in this opening race, but I'm finding it difficult to blame the circuit really for all the woes so far.
Yeah, that's true. There was also some not great driving there, especially Helmbro's one. He just went in way too deep into turn 4 and then cut across the nose as well, still trying to make the corner. So not the ideal situation, really put other drivers at risk, and it did. Unfortunately, 4 drivers involved. The one in turn 1, turn 2, I think that was just a little bit more, lap 1, drivers trying to fight for position. But yeah, the one with a home bomb, that was a little bit clumsy with Uvenen as well. So definitely a few things the drivers can improve for race 2.
I think the one with Hahn pushing Motin off the circuit and sort of getting him to ramp off the back of him was pretty clumsy as well, to be honest. But there you go. That's all been dealt with and combined, thankfully. So the opening couple of laps, it's been pretty good since then. Oliver Hudson figures you still hanging on to 4th place as things stand. Lindhoff is catching Dan Homer at the moment for 15th place. That'll be another point if he can get there. In fact, every position is a point right the way up until he gets into the top 10, which I wouldn't imagine he's going to do in this first race now. But every overtake is going to matter for Henrik Lindhoff, who, as things stand, would see his championship lead come down below 25 for the first time in quite a long time.
Yeah, because it's also not about just trying to win the championship today as such. It's about making it easy going into Indianapolis. You don't want to have the stress of it being still under threat. You want to have it basically covered going into that final race, and that is what he's going to be aiming to do with that 40-point lead, give or take, that he's got coming into this series. But there's still opportunities for some other drivers as well. Hana, even on those primary tyres, he is looking fairly fast, and maybe as the alternates start to wear off a little bit, he might be able to get Wallingston.
Let's see just how that's going to go throughout the race here. We've seen this in the last couple of rounds, people going for alternate tyres. You do get the choice in the opening race, but it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to do anything other than put the red stripe tyres on for the duration of the 17 laps in the opener here. But clearly there has, in the last couple of weeks, been a little bit more variation. Some people willing to try something. Can't really see that there's much difference at the moment, to be honest, in this battle for 6th place. If you didn't know the tyre compounds of each of the drivers, you were forced to spot the difference, you wouldn't really be able to.
Yeah, they are fairly close, I guess. It's not like, you can't keep up at all, but they are just generally slower. So the alternates will end up being faster. And it's also one of those things, even if they do go longer, the alternates will gain that extra, let's say 5 seconds or whatever in the first few laps, and then you're never going to gain those 5 seconds back. It's that sort of situation. So I'm sure when we get to the feature race as well, we'll see a lot of the alternates at the start of the race to make sure you put yourself in the track position. And of course they'll go as long as they can to try and get some overcuts as well in the race. But that is for a few minutes time when we get to the 13-lap feature race for this sprint race so far. We saw was there further contact up ahead. There is 3 cars involved. Wallingston, further contact. Bjork goes around. Hagman goes through the 3 of them. And there's contact on the front of Wallingston.
It looked like Bjork spun on his own to me, with Wallingston having to go around the outside of him and then making the contact. As Hahn was also delayed. He's passed by Stiller on the way to Ferradura, but let's have another look. Oh no, he was hit by Wallingston. Bjork was hit by Wallingston. That's another one to add to the clumsiest, I think, by the looks of that one.
Certainly. Just, he was way later on the brakes, but to me it looked like he was still going to make the corner. Now, there's definitely something going on for Bjork there. He was going a bit slower than normal. I do feel there was, some other circumstances going on than just a normal, a normal sort of missing your braking point from Wallingston. I think Bjork was having some troubles.
Difficult to say from there. Although, yeah, you're right, it did look like Wallingston might well have made the corner anyway. Philip Hahn has to come into pit lane as well after avoiding that. So does that give any positions here to Lindhoff? Well, Wallingston and Hahn are both into the pit lane here. Bjork carries on by looks of things, and so maybe it will be just a couple of positions here for Lindhoff. By the way, Evan Forsland is back out on the circuit as well, though he's 21st and he's a lap behind 20th, which is a disaster really if he's going to miss out on the reverse grid.
Yeah, it is going to be a couple of positions there for Lindhoff, who I didn't quite fully appreciate. He's still on the lead lap, actually, despite all of that damage. So they must have been able to sort that out very quickly indeed, because it's one of the shortest laps in the world, really, for a Grand Prix circuit. Just a minute and 18 seconds long, but he's still down the lead lap. A couple of places gained, and that's exactly why he came back out. He's now in P15.
Yes, exactly. Another point gained. So be very pleased with that, as Hahn has made his way back out onto the circuit. He's only just outside the top 10. He's getting real Belle Isle flashbacks after the opening race, I've got to say, but it's quietened down ever since then, which is a good thing. And so, well, it's obviously making me fearful as to what on earth is going to happen in race 2. However, it's good that this race has settled down now after the opening laps of carnage.
So I've just been looking at some drivers. Hagman and Stiller, P6, P7 as it stands, they both have started from the back of the grid. They are up 16 places each, and they are looking to get some solid points. So definitely a just showing you the craziness of those first couple of laps. They're still 30 seconds off the lead by the end of it, so really has spread out from that midfield. The top three are now 13 seconds ahead from Vigaju. We go side by side though, as we've got Hana trying to have this battle. Yokunsu on the outside, but not able to get past him. Hana there goes a little bit wide, but will keep onto his place with those primaries.
He is still, or he's now 11th, I should say, after his pit stop. Although my time screen is showing me that it was a drive-through penalty for Hahn. I wonder whether he hit the instant limit through that contact that he had down there. Oscar Motin also has pitted in for a drive-through penalty that might well be for incident points as well, but that's slightly bizarre to see in such a short race. I know car contact is 4, but even so, that feels like it's quite quick to get to the incident limit, which I think is 15 today.
Oh, I guess there's a few places to do track limits around here as well, but there's also been quite a bit of contact, so I think it adds up pretty quickly. But certainly a weird one to see, especially in the sprint race. Well, I wonder what we're going to see in the feature race. Is there going to be double drive-throughs for certain drivers? We'll have to see. They've got to be keeping out of that, because that's just a silly way to lose 15 seconds in your race time.
Yeah, it's not the longest pit lane in the world, but even so, you will lose out on some time. Hahn looking to get back into the top 10 now, though, with Bjork just up ahead of him. Of course, was involved with Wellingstrom earlier on, and Hahn makes a rather tentative look down the inside there of Bjork and can't quite get through. Going to need a bit more conviction than that if he wants 10th place.
Yeah, I think he was looking, but he wasn't really trying, but then the doors kind of stayed open, so he's like, okay, let me hang the nose in there and see what we can do. Bit of a lock up there from Bjork as he works his way through the sort of hairpin sequence of corners. Can he make it to this one as well? Is he feeling the pressure? Hahn once again looking up the inside. He's definitely the faster driver. Wide goes Bjork. Hahn around the outside. That's going to be a magnificent move if he can make it in towards the braking zone. They still remain side by side, but Hahn gets ahead before we get onto the straight.
Good recovery from Hahn. Looks like he's going to get his top 10 after all here in this race, which would be a good return for him in the end after all the trials and tribulations of the race, and there certainly have been a few for him. So that's a good pass into 10th. Johnny Evelyn, meanwhile, is not too far behind them. That duo just behind them is not a battle for position, but this is between Yoshitsu and Holmer. That's Daniel Holmer having a look at the inside, and Henrik Lindhoff only 3 seconds behind them. Can he get in any of these places in the last 3 laps as it is now?
I think he might be able to. I tell you what, his pace was a second a lap quicker. Side by side we go down the back straight in towards turn number 4. Side by side for Holmer. He's going to get there, and unfortunately for Yonsu, after looking so good and potentially getting some places a little bit earlier, is now losing some, and I think Lindhoff is going to be coming for him as well. The battles remain up ahead though. 3 tenths between the leaders. Manson's been leading all the way, but can Austin do anything in the final lap and a bit?
It's been a slightly different race, of course, from the Red Bull Ring, where Manson, along with his teammates, were falling back quite quickly. And in fact, Mikko Sundström has struggled a bit in this race as well. But Manson has done well at the front of the field. Austin right behind him. If he wants to revitalise a championship charge, then he probably does need to win. And he certainly needs to gain some points on Lindhoff today if he wants to be involved by Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time. Bit of a lock-up from Manson there, going in towards turn 8. So he's trying to hold back Austin, but you can tell he is pushing, and Austin will have seen that as well.
Certainly would. Working their way through this middle sector and out onto the back straight, or the start-finish straight, I should say, for the really the final time of asking in towards turn number 1. Is there going to be a run? Austin is actually a bit far behind, isn't he? Of course, they got the push to pass. You can't necessarily see when they're using it, but I'm sure they both are at the same time, not only for attack but also defense. The white flag comes out. Manson just needs to hold on for another 4 kilometers.
Yeah, can he do it one more time around here? Albert Manson wide at turn number 1. Thought he was going to be okay, to be honest, because of how he's been driving so far, but no, he's gone wide, and Osland's going to have the best chance of the race right at the very end here. White flag's waving, and Osland's on the outside line. He breaks late. He's going to get pushed out there, though. Oh, careful coming across him, but Manson does about hang on for now.
And Austin is putting the pressure on. Big defensive line to the outside. It's going to be through Ferradura. This is necessary to overtake here, but into the next corner maybe to get the up and under. Big dive down the inside. He's got to hold it there, not push too wide as we work our way through the hairpin sequences. That's now going to give him the outside line. Can he try and make this work?
Last lap of the race here. Last lap of the opening race of the evening. And it's still side by side between Austin and Manson. Manson will have the inside line for the final corner here, but who will have the run to the line? The outside line can prevail here, and Austin is going to try his best to use that. He's still alongside now. If he pulls wide, he can get back in the slipstream here and come back again to the line. It could be a photo finish here in race 1 of the evening. Here he comes. He's on the button. He's coming. He's in the slipstream. Oh, he's not quite there in time. Albin Manson wins the race by 34 thousandths of a second in the end. It was a very close finish between himself and Robin Osland, but Albin Manson just about holds on to win from pole.
As here is Lindhoff on his final lap, diving it down the inside, getting another position. There's Uvenen, who's actually lost a bit of bodywork there, hasn't he? That was flying around, so Lindhoff is going to be up to 13th place after that big crash on the opening lap. He's got a couple of drivers up ahead. Don't think there'll be time to overtake them. One of them is his teammate, though, Dan Holmer, but that's still a strong result, at least from what his car was looking like on lap 1.
His championship lead will be down below 30 points now to Oliver Hagström. However, it's not as bad as it could have been for Henrik Lindhoff, who makes his way over the line now, and he will be starting the next race from 8th place after finishing 13th. Oh, excuse me, where's he gone? He's gone off my list. Oh, no, excuse me, he is still 13th. He disappeared in the for a moment there, but he's there. He's fine. He's finished 13th by the looks of things, and we'll just get that confirmed now. Albin Manson, 32 thousandths of a second ahead of Robin Osland in the end. Mikael Sundström couldn't quite stay with them. Oliver Hagström, big as you, did hang on to 4th place by holding back Jock Frisch throughout that one. Marcus Hagman finishes 6th place ahead of Marcus Stiller. Hackenschott, Björn Broström and Philip Hahn round out the top 10. Just outside of the top 10 was Kasper Bjork. Daniel Holmer finishing just ahead of Henrik Lindhoff, who does indeed get 13th place. That's right, what my time screen was trying to tell me. Tony Uvenen finishes 14th ahead of Sami Jönsson, with Oliver Wallin and Kalle Wallenström, the last drivers on the lead lap. Oscar Motor and Peter Helmbro were 1 down. Robert Eriksson got out on the circuit again, 5 laps down, and that was important because he needed to hold off Edvin Forsland. Cedric Holmbaum and Alexander Olsen, I don't believe, actually re-emerged. Even if they did, it would have been very, very short stint on the circuit indeed. Well, that's the opening race of the Lagerkungen race day here from Interlagos, complete. A very surprising and chaotic opening race here at Interlagos. We'll be back in a few moments' time with race 2, of course, and we'll see whether we're going to get the same kind of action or something a little bit different. We'll be back in a moment. for the Lagerkungen race day here, part of the Svenska Eracingligan Indy series for 2024. We've got just 3 races to go now in the series and one more coming up here tonight. It is 30 more laps here from Interlagos, where both tyre compounds must be used by all of the drivers, 20 of whom have just been reversed and tipped on their head, ready for the second race. Myself, Ian and Cam Rogers still with you. That was unexpected, I think it's fair to say, Cam. I mean, we can accept a chaotic race at Belle-Isle, you know, even though we only got about 6 finished, you know, that's not out of the ordinary. That first 2 laps of that first race certainly was out of the ordinary.
Absolutely, there was too many big crashes, and each one seemed to involve about 4 drivers at a time as well. So it really just decimated a lot of the field. We still got most drivers actually getting to the finish of the race, which is good. They managed to get back out on the track with some damage repairs, but the pit lane was packed even after about 1 minute of the race. It was quite something. Let's hope that we have well, I say that perfectly timed on sim race speeding cars. They're going for a spin, but let's hope we can have a bit more of a calm start to this race number 2.
Yes, let's hope so. And I do wonder everyone's attitude as well. Will they have that opening lap mayhem in their mind when they're going in towards turn number 1 for race number 2 a little bit later on here? You'd certainly hope so, but just don't know really what they're thinking going into these races. But let's hope that it is they're going to exercise a little bit of caution this time around. We will wait and find out, of course. We've just had the opening race. That means that the grid is now going to be reversed, at least the top 20 will, and Robert Ericsson's vital laps to just keep on going around at the end get him a pole position ahead of Peter Helmbro, with Oscar Moten and Kalle Wernström on row 2. It's Oliver Bohlin and Samu Josensu on row 3. Tony Ivinen and the series leader Henrik Lindhoff will be 8th ahead of Daniel Holmer and Kasper Björk. Philip Hahn and Bjorn Brostrom round out row 6. Hakim Schott and Marcus Stiller are next ahead of Marcus Hagman and Jock Frist. It's Oliver Hagström Vigersjö who gained points in the last one to Lindhoff. He starts 17th ahead of Mikael Sundström, who is 18th. Then Robin Austin and Albin Manson, who finished 1-2 in that opening race. Evan Forsund, who lost out on vital points there. And then Cedric Holbom and Alexander Olsen rounding out the 23. Hopefully, again, all will start. There are the drivers getting themselves ready. 4:30 in the evening here in Sim. 74 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit. That's mid-30s Celsius for those of you using proper units, or low 30s, somewhere around there anyway. So that's about where we're at. It's absolutely fine conditions at a circuit that can get a little bit warm on occasion. We'll have a look as well to see what tyre compounds everyone's got on, but we're getting towards the end of the season. There does seem to be a recognised strategy, especially for those at the front, which is, of course, to get the reds on as soon as possible.
Yeah, they're simply faster. So you want to start, keep your track position. If you go primaries, yes, maybe you can go longer, maybe you can try and do something like that way, but you just lose time in the first stint. And these opening laps are the important ones. We saw, even with the carnage in race number 1, how quickly things can be separated, especially if you're sort of mid-pack, 10th, 15th place. If you lose that extra 5 seconds to the race lead, getting that back later on is almost impossible. So definitely alternates at the start. Look for some drivers trying to go long, trying to get that overcut, do some quali laps when the fuel is low in that mid part of the race.
We all saw what happened on lap 1 of race 1, but Oliver Hagström Vigersjö needs to continue gaining points, and Henrik Lindhoff starts a lot of positions behind. I wonder if he is going to be a real aggressive one down in towards turn 1, starting way down in 17th.
He has to be. It's a big, there's some big names at the back because, of course, Olsen, Holmbom, Forsund, the 3 that weren't reversed, there's still some top drivers in the championship as well. So it's going to be a bit of a flip-flop. All of these fast drivers pushing to the front, but especially for Vigersjö, he's got to get inside the top 5 really by the end of this race.
And ideally ahead of Lindhoff as well. He decreased the margin in the championship below 30 points in that opening race as a result of finishing 4th. But what about race 2? A very important 3rd last race in the Svenska Eracingligan Indy series for 2024. The lights are on and we are ready to go. Oh, already! That one looks like it's Lindhoff on the outside line there, making either a very good jump indeed or a jump start. I think it was just a good jump, to be honest. In towards turn 1 they go, and it's single file for the leaders. A little bit better this time round, better behaved from the front drivers. Side by side, just in front of Lindhoff there, between Wellington and Bohlin, who are going through the corner, and here comes Lindhoff on the inside line, already maybe looking for a top 5 place, but there it is. Wallingstam hits Bohlin, and vaulting over the back of them goes Sami Yoshitsu as well.
Oh, and Ericsson's gone around, and possibly Motin. Yeah, Motin's gone. There's further contact in turn 5, and even further cards in the back on Yoshitsu. Loads of drivers actually losing place at the start. Bjorn Broström is involved, Hagström, the MHE Racing cars, all 3 of them not having the best lap 1.
Look at Henrik Lindhoff, though, already in 2nd place. He's 1.5 seconds off Helmbro, who's really stolen the march here, but Lindhoff is in 2nd, then Tony Even, and then Daniel Holmer, Philip Hahn, and then this battle between Edvin Forsland and Kasper Björk, and Forsland is through. This is a great start from Forsland. He's already up 15 on this opening lap.
How on earth has he done that? The replay of that is going to be quite incredible. As you say, you're in 15 cars in one of the shortest laps we have on the calendar. That is quite crazy. Further up ahead, though, Holmer's going to be making a move on Uvenen down towards turn number 1. He should have that one stuck, you would assume, on the inside line. Definitely the best place to be, and actually it's primary tyres for Uvenen, so that's why he's gone backwards a little bit. So the primaries are not really working out so good. The up and under is going to be for Vic Hughes. He tries to go around Bjork.
He's on the primaries as well, of course, but probably expecting himself to be stuck in traffic, and he's in the wall. Oh, it's a big crash. Big crash involving Oliver Hagström here, and it's all going on the back straight here as well. Hagman's involved, and it looks like Holmbaum is involved as well. Oh dear, it's all unravelled, I'm afraid, for Oliver Hagström who has made big contact on the Rector Aposta there, and he's got big damage now as well to go with it.
That might be championship over. We'll have to see what he can scrape from this race, but Lindhoff is certainly going to be gaining points with where he's positioned at this stage. No risk as such. You know what? Lindhoff might even be winning this race later on. We'll have to see. Still plenty of time to go, despite being in the wall on lap 1 of the sprint. He's getting the run up to Helmbro already.
Here he goes in the slipstream, looking to make his way through here, and he's going to go to the right-hand side this time around in towards turn 1, and very possibly get the place as well. Pretty late on the brakes for Henrik Lindhoff, and the caught Helmbro so quickly, so he's going to pass him quite quickly as well. Helmbro's going to get a decent exit here through turn 3, and he'll slipstream onto the back of Lindhoff as well, but he knows not to go for it there because he knows the score here. Lindhoff is going to be leading this race, leading this championship, and not sealing it tonight, but getting relatively close to maybe being able to do it in race 1 in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, this has just worked out so well, and this format really doesn't, it doesn't really matter if you're fast in qualifying and you win the first race. Things can change around so quickly. Vigaju, after that first race, we thought, oh yeah, I'm getting points on Lindhoff. Now all of a sudden, the flick of a switch, and he's actually going to be losing points to Lindhoff over the course of this round. Incredible stuff with how it works out. But Lindhoff is, he's done a good job himself. He gained up 6 places really just on that first lap.
Well, Hagström's back out on the circuit again now already, in 18th place, but even so, 18th is only 13 points as opposed to the 50 that Lindhoff would be getting for a race win here, so it's looking pretty bleak for the others now. Helmbro can't stay with him. This is much more like what you're expecting to see from Lindhoff. It was an incident, of course, that set him off course in race 1 as Edvin Forsland tries to chase him down. He's now up to 4th place.
Certainly is, and I mean Forsland as well, 17 places. Osland down in 7th, he's up 12 as well, so just off the back of this. So definitely some big movers out with all the carnage at the beginning of the race, but Forsland, he's keeping his, I won't say championship hopes alive, because he did lose a lot of points in that first race tonight. But let's actually have a look at this once again. So this was one of the first pieces of contact. That is Bohlin being hit by Wallingstam, who then jumps over him for good measure. There's further contact in behind them as well, which is just going to be off to the left-hand side of the screen. There's going to be further cars spinning around. Up ahead, we're going to see Ericsson. Does he do this on his own? Yes, he does, unfortunately. And then he just collects the back of Motin.
Oh, yeah, just clips him slightly. But that's enough to send Motin around. And this is what Sami Yoshitsu saw. He was also involved. That was a lot of contact into the side of him, even though he didn't really seem to move. And this is what Motin saw. Not a lot he could have done to avoid a spinning car in front of him there. Couldn't even spin it back the right way around again, unfortunately. So he dropped back, and there is Yosinsu with the damage that we just saw him pick up, struggling his way back to pit lane.
So in the live pictures, Holmer went through. Oh, that is Vigashu. Huge contact. Oh, my word. Didn't quite remember it being so violent, but wow, what a move across the track there. Just ping-ponging. Further cars getting involved. Then drivers trying to slow down. And I think that's fucking shot getting smashed into the back of as well. Oh, my Lord. He did well to avoid the first one, but couldn't avoid the second.
I think that, by the way, was either Sundström or Manson breaking their way through and somehow getting away with it. I'm not sure why Yosinsu soldiered on without a rear wing for so long, but there's him feeling the effects of that. So he's way down in the pack now. But yeah, you're right. That was a really violent impact for whoever that was with Oliver Hagström and Vigashu. But I've got to say, I don't think Hagström was at fault for that one. To be honest with you, he was on the outside line through turn 3. And needed to come back on from the curb at some point, back onto the circuit, and didn't get the space to do so, in my opinion, there.
Yeah, tight move around the outside there, and the natural racing line actually is to use a little bit of the curb. As you say, it pinches back in, and the problem there is that the wall comes up so fast on that right-hand side, so you really have to pinch in, and unfortunately that contact was just at the wrong time and the wrong place on the car, really, to spin him around. As we're seeing Hana, who seems to love these primary tyres, hasn't used the alternates since the qualifying session, so he should be faster at the end of this race, and he's only 8 seconds off the lead. He's in the foreground though. Östlund up the inside of Uvinen. That should be game, set and match. It's very difficult to defend on the outside here through turn 5, and yet Uvinen is going to drop down to P6.
Pretty easy pass in the end there for Östlund, who moves up to 5th place again here. Started down in 19th, of course, after finishing 2nd, only just in that opening race, so looking for a back-to-back podium here. And he's the only driver, realistically, who's got a chance, I think, of managing that. Sundström and Manson are down in 8th and 9th at the moment, and there they are, just making their way through the middle sector as well. But things might start to settle down a little bit now. We're getting towards the end of lap 6 and a fifth of the way through this second race of the evening. Of course, a lot of pit strategies still to work out, but this is how Henrik Lindorff saw the opening part of the race. He certainly reacted better than whoever that was in front of him.
Yeah, that was a Yunsu who did not have the best start at all. So that was already a position gained, as in the live picture scene, Forsen getting through for 3rd place. We'll continue on with Lindorff. So he's already up into what's about 6th place. Then this is the Wallingston and Wallen battle up ahead. That is going to turn into a crash as we get up towards turn number 4. So this is going to be another couple of places already. There it is, Wallingston braking much later. Thank you, see you later. And then, of course, there's a crash up ahead. So Motin and Ericsson get out of the way, and Bob's your uncle, the number 8, starts in P8 but gets up into 2nd.
That's after just 5 corners of this race. Up 6 positions as Sundström makes his way around the outside of Philip Hahn through Ferradura. A little bit wide from him there, but he's back on again, and well, quite wide through the next corner, turn 8, so he has to drop in behind Hana, who was doing a lot of defending here, I'd imagine, for the race. I mean, that was clumsiness really from Wellington. But I was about to say, we haven't seen as much of that in this round, but that certainly wasn't towards turn 4.
Yeah, just braking too late. I guess cold brakes and a bit of over-exuberance in towards turn 4, mixture of the two. And just further contact. Wallington, of course, having a little bit of contact in the first race as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, lap 1 contacts, and he's not getting the results that he would have wanted. Still continuing on in the race over down in P17 as it stands. So, on Hana there is Sundström, but he goes too deep, and he's got his teammate Manson. That's a little bit awkward with the teammates losing some time. And is Manson, is he actually on the primary tyres, maybe? Yeah. Oh, no, he is on the alternates, actually. So, both those drivers still trying to make their way up. They haven't made as much progress as Forsten and Lindorff ahead.
Are we sure that he's not on alternates there, Manson? I thought he was. Maybe I was seeing things earlier on. It's entirely possible. So we'll find out. But both don't forget, both compounds do have to be used at some point throughout this race. There's no minimum or maximum amount of time you can run them, though. You do have free reign, pretty much. Henrik Linhoff still leads the way. Oliver Hagström Vigazoo is still down in 18th place. He's got a long way to catch up to, even to running time at the moment. He'll certainly fancy himself to do that, but all the way down there, he's going to be losing well over 35 points. This championship lead is going to more than double again here after race 2.
That is, when you say it like that, yeah, those numbers change around very quickly, don't they? As we're seeing the gains and the losses of the drivers. Forsen up 18 places. That is an awesome one. But even, Östlund in P5 is up 14. Manson just behind this battle, he's up 12. So some big movers in the opening first. What's his third of the race so far? Hunter gets the run on Uvnen as we come off turn 3. He's on the inside line already, so no slipstream. It's all going to be push to pass button down the inside, and the yellow machine there should have it done. Goes a little bit wide, but Uvnen loses another place.
You'd imagine that both of these two will be under pressure from Manson and Sundström very shortly here as they make their way into the middle sector. Those red striped tyres, of course, will be starting to lose their edge compared to the primaries. However, you'd imagine that these two are a bit quicker anyway and still have those fresher, or not fresher tyres, but softer tyres on board. Here he goes in towards turn 10, does he? Yeah. Oh, close. Doesn't go for the dive though, Manson. He's probably going to wait now for turn 1. Be brave to do it at the final corner.
Certainly will. Jensau's not really the place where you actually want to make an overtake, because you just lose the momentum onto the back straight. And let's see if he can get the run. Of course, the push pass is in effect, and both drivers will be on the button, but how much do you want to use at this point in the race? He's getting the run. He's going to go to the right hand side. A bit of slipstream actually from Hana. Should get the last kilometre an hour that he needs around the outside. Uvnen is going to defend though on that inside line, but all the way around the outside suits Manson, and he gets up into P7.
Perhaps unsurprising that he moves up. Sundström will try and follow through and do the same, but no, can't do it at the outside of turn 3. Side by side between Helbro and Östlund further up the road as well. That's Robin Östlund moving up to 4th place on the inside line there, ahead of Helbro. Sundström and Uvnen again in the background as well. Holmer and Forsund. It's all going on at the moment. And it certainly is here as well. 8th place between Uvnen and Sundström. Inside line for Mikael Sundström, and he does get through into 8th place.
Yeah, just like London buses, you wait a couple of laps for something to happen, then all the moves come at once. To actually say there that Sundström getting past Uvnen as well. Östlund on Helmbro, and Forsen getting closer to his sister teammate of Holmer for P2. Lindoff has gone up the road by 6 seconds, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him winning this race later. He's in position, and he's got so many seconds behind. It doesn't matter what the others do. He can react in the pit stop, and he's not going to be overcut, undercut, anything like that. He's got a pretty calm way. But up to the front though, Forsen is making further progress, and that will be second position for the number 27.
Great drive from Forsund, up 19 so far. But Manson and Hahn meanwhile go side by side. That's Manson trying to go through into 6th place, and I thought he would find it relatively easy actually, but not really. And here he's going to have to go through again here, or try again at turn 4 after initially trying through the Centre S. And that this time, oh, there's contact again. Hahn and Manson making contact this time there, they get away with it.
Somehow, I thought there might have been a little bit more of a wobble there. So it's very interesting how these tyres are working, because for Forsen at the front, he's making those primaries work. Bahana's just starting to struggle as the nearly on pace cars are still using the edge that those alternate tyres have. So it's a bit weird. Maybe just some of the drivers using their tyres differently over the first 10, 11 laps of this race, as the sun is actually setting. So we'll be getting slightly cooler as the race goes on in the second half.
The thing that's slightly odd though is that there have not been any stops yet with nearly 11 laps gone. You would have thought somebody would take the plunge, but not many scheduled ones from what I can see. Lots of damage-based ones though, as out onto the front straight goes Hana and Sundström. Sundström's going to get the slipstream from his teammate, and this will be through into the centre S. He's a bit wide, but giving the space to Hunt. Slides up in front of him through turn 2, and he does have the place. So Munson and Sundström are now 6th and 7th, but they're probably just making their progress a little bit too unquickly too slowly.
Unquickly.
I know, I couldn't find the word slowly for a second.
Unquickly, that is, I don't think I've heard that one before, but I do like it, to be honest. But nearly on pace, I mean, they're doing a good job, aren't they? But as you say, it hasn't been fast enough. So now that they've got into these positions, they're too far behind Forsland and Ostland, really, to make big progress in the next few laps.
Yeah, that's going to be their problem. But still time on their side. Not halfway through this race just yet, as more retirements coming down the bottom end of the field, by the way. Cedric Holbom, Oliver Bohlin and Casper Bjork are all official retirements. Hackenschott might well be a retirement pretty soon as well. Just 19 remaining in this race. Doesn't matter particularly for the championship contenders, who are all running their own races as things stand. Oliver Hagström-Viggesjö is 18th place, and the second lowest scorer in the field now. He's out the pit lane again, trying to catch Jock Frist, of course, further down, as Tony Ivinen comes in for our first pit stop from the top 10.
Yes, I guess it is really the time that you can start thinking about it. We have seen the difference of the tyres being quite interesting. So the earlier you pit, if you stay out for a couple of laps, you of course get the tyres up to temperature. But the overcut, where you're on less fuel, is beneficial as well. But then when you come out, you're on the cold tyres, and someone behind you can easily gain those 2 seconds back just on the outlap. So it's a very interesting one with how it works. And it really depends, I guess, on the track position and what sort of clean air you have when you come out of the pit lane as well. As we're on board with Philip Harner as he works his way through this middle sector. Not able to keep up with the nearly on pace cars ahead of him, but still looking fairly good at this time. He's got the big gap behind to Robert Eriksson, who of course started on that front row.
Certainly could be worse for Philip Harner at the moment, as he runs 8th place with a very healthy gap behind him as well. Now that Uvenen's gone away, no pit stops this time around from these three, and not really from up ahead either here. You're on the primaries, wondering how far you really want to go here before putting the alternates on. I've got to say, I've really not noticed very much difference at all in the tyre compounds so far today in terms of how they behave. It must feel different in the car because that's sort of what they're for, but it hasn't looked so obvious today as it did at the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago.
Yes, they're definitely much closer. So therefore, are we going to see a swap around on pace at the front, or maybe we're not, between Lindhoff and Forsland when they swap the tyre compounds? Is Forsland going to be able to close down any more than that 6.5-7 second gap that we've seen for just a little bit now? But when the tyres are close like this, in some ways it does. It does actually matter more, because that little bit of a difference, becomes ever so more important. When the gaps are closer, it makes it even harder to make a big difference. So all the small gaps start counting. So let's see what they do when we get to the next stint. But we are seeing some further moves up ahead. Austin gets Homer. Must have been a bad run off the corner for Homer, because he's been overtaken already halfway down the straight.
Yeah, very bad run because of how early he was past there as they go on to lap 15. Now he's not on the podium anymore. Robin Östlund is, and I think he's going to be difficult to take off that podium now. So the top 3 places occupied by some very strong drivers indeed, who arguably shouldn't be quite this far up the field at this stage in the race. But then again, Forsland has certainly deserved it in his own right. 19 gained for him in the race so far. So just about halfway here at Interlagos, and Henrik Lindhoff is taking a huge stride forward in the championship at the moment, first to 17th as things stand. That's a 36-point gap created, even without applying any bonuses that could come their way at the end of the day. Surely that puts Lindhoff in a commanding position going into the final round of the season, where I believe he would be ahead by some amount of 60+ points.
Yeah, this season has been very weird with how basically every race has had the incidents in the carnage, so in some ways it's kept it quite open, but somehow the cream always rises to the top, and that person this season has been Lindhoff. He's been there all the time, as that is a move to pit road from Homer. a little bit late, but he is going to continue on as we're seeing some side-by-side. Helmbro's going backwards once more as Manson around the outside in turn 1. Helmbro's seen this move before, and he lets the nearly on pace car go.
Knew that there wasn't much point fighting that one, especially given the phase of the race we're in. Everyone's worried about who they're going to come out next to, and being quick at this stage to either protect themselves from an undercut or work an overcut maybe, depending on where you are in the race. Of course, some have already stopped. Hagman's in now, Marcus Hagman from outside of the top 10 now. But 14 laps to go at the end of this one, and still plenty of drivers yet to put on the other compound tyre. This, by the way, the only battle on the circuit as things stand. It really has gotten a lot quieter after the opening laps.
Oh, it did, but in some ways that is good, because we saw both in race 1 and race 2 some big incidents, taking out some big names. I mean, yes, we saw some exaggerated contacts, but still the drivers pushing the limits and making some mistakes to force the errors as well. And as we are now lap 17 as well, that is the length of the first race, so wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see some pit stoppers over the next couple of laps, because it's definitely that sort of time where, you know, the race has been split into 2. But I will expect the drivers to go a little bit further, go as long as they can on this tank, because then A, you have a shorter run to the end on the primaries, and B, you've got to take less fuel to the end of the race.
I do feel like we may, or we're seeing a bit of a surprising thing here, that actually the alternates are going at least the distance of the opening race, and maybe if not that, just that a little bit further here in this one. 17 laps to go, or 17 laps complete at the end of this one, as you say, and the alternates still seem to be going pretty strong as things stand. But you know, it sort of goes back to what I was saying earlier on. It's very difficult. I'm finding it pretty difficult to tell today, anyway, who's on which tyre without looking properly, because normally it's obvious with the speed difference. Today it really is not obvious at all.
Yes, at the front, it's still around that 6.5-7 second gap between Lindhoff and Forsen. You expect Lindhoff potentially to be the faster driver, looking on average over the season, but Forsen's keeping him calm as well. So yeah, definitely not the biggest of difference. We continue on, at least for these drivers. Maybe one driver in the background there actually jumping down pit road. Yeah, Sundström was the one who went down pit lane, so maybe this is going to trigger another round of stops, as he's got one of the Revo cars just ahead of him there.
Look to pull into his box rather nicely, and not have to reverse, which is a positive. See what his stop time is, and indeed where he comes out. Trying to see whether and indeed who is going to be making another stop in this race, and who has made their stop so far. Alexander Olsen has been in, but 15 laps ago he was into pit lane. I wonder whether he's changed tyres really early on here because of incidents earlier on, but it's not really holding back too much, and he's back out with the leaders again. I mean, it's entirely possible here, even if he's going to be suffering on tyres later on. Of course, you only need to use both compounds, so he may well have done that. He may legitimately be here.
But I think fuel is the problem. I don't think he's going to get the 27 laps on the fuel. So he might just have to come in for a splash, which is a big shame, because he'll lose, you know, maybe 18 seconds or so by doing that, and that will obviously drop him further back from where you're seeing at this moment in time. As we're now seeing Helmbro come down pit road, so yeah, further drivers still going, but we are getting on to lap 19 for the leaders now, and they're continuing on. Forsand is closing up. The last couple of laps he's gained time, so he's gained a few tenths here and there, but it's still over 6 seconds as Hana comes down pit road too.
Yep. We're starting to see a real flurry now. 12 laps to go as Holmer makes his way out of the first few corners. The first of those Turbada stops so far. Wouldn't imagine he's going to get anywhere near Henrik Lindhoff, though. It looks like he's on his way to a race win. Oliver Hagström is on the back of Hello, Wellington, by the way, for 15th place at the moment. So there's a pretty big battle as far as the championship is concerned. Back down there, every single point is going to matter to Oliver Hagström, and so he's got to make that pass quickly so that he can get another point maybe from Björn Broström, then maybe another from Oscar Motin, etc. There's lots of drivers just ahead of him now. It's not the huge gap that we had earlier.
Race leader is in. Lindoff comes down pit road in the number 8 machine. Of course, he's on the alternates. Forsland will stay out on the primaries, get a bit of an overcut. Let's see which one is going to work. Of course, Forsland now is on basically quali fuel for a lap or two, whereas Lindoff is going to be on the full tank of fuel and the cold tyres. So it might work for Forsland to gain at least a couple of seconds.
Well, he's going to need to gain a couple of seconds a few times over as things stand. The gap before they pitted in was quite big, so I wouldn't expect Lindoff to lose the lead after the pit stop we've just seen him have. Olsen is back in again, so it turns out he wouldn't have been able to make it, and Alexander Olsen has had to come back in again, so that will spell some doubt over some of the others as well. Marcus Stiller, who has not yet stopped properly by the looks of things. Bjorn Brostrom hasn't stopped at all. Caleb Runningstam, Oliver Harsham, and also Sami Yoshitsu are those who came in very, very early indeed to repair damage, but can they make it on their tyres? That remains to be seen, but based on Olsen, maybe not.
Yes, I would assume that's also Olsen sort of doing the damage limitation, because the longer he goes, the less benefit of the new tyres he is going to get. So maybe just sort of splitting that in half a little bit to make sure that he gets the good use of the new tyres. You assume he's going to go to the alternates once more in this race as Forsland does come in. So it's just 1 lap difference between the leaders. How big of a difference is that going to be? Remember, Forsland is on the alternates to the end. As we mentioned, there's not the biggest difference between them, but is it going to be any sort of benefit for him to close down? And as we get out, I mean, saying 5 seconds, of course, he's going to have to get back up to speed. If there's anything above 6, then he basically hasn't made any difference at all.
I think he's taken a small chunk out, but nothing too major, nothing that Lindoff will be very worried about either, with still 10 laps to go. It's just about bringing it home now for him, really. He'll, of course, be disappointed with the opening race of the day. However, he's done very well in race 2 now, and he's looks like he's cruising to a race win. Henry Lindoff has not historically done very well in race 2s. His best finish is second place, I should say, and that's his only podium finish in the second reverse grid races. So it's good to get this off his back, I suppose. But Lindoff, after all, does often start towards the back, which makes things pretty difficult for him. Today started a bit further towards the front as Masson and Sundström get together now. I wonder what kind of assistance they can offer each other here with 9 laps to go.
Yes, I'm looking at the gaps here, and Forsland actually lost about 1.5 seconds with this. So what this tells me is that the pace drop-off was actually a little bit bigger maybe over the course of the stint than we were quite expecting, but very equal between the compounds, I guess, is the situation that we found ourselves in. But I was saying, for the nearly on pace cars, they're making some good progress in this race. They've still got Osland and Homer up ahead. I reckon they can still work their way potentially to a podium here, but let's find out just how that is going to work itself out. It depends what pace they've got in just these final 8 laps.
Yeah, I think a podium place is not unreasonable to be looking for these two now as they make their way up into Ferradura. Manson leading Sundström up the hill through the long right-hander, then into the middle sector as well. There is the box time of everybody, nobody doing anything especially different. There is Osland on the back of Homer by the looks of things, so this is not going to help these two, trying to keep the two developing to get the two further behind getting involved here. It's just 8 laps to go when we get to the line, and Homer and Osland are going to be caught, I would imagine, pretty soon, depending on how hard they end up battling. Let's see. Osland moves to the inside line, and this is a pretty slam dunk move for him. And there we go, through to 3rd place, easy for me to say. And that was pretty easy in the end, not too much fighting.
and he's on the alternate tyres, which is good. So he does have that slight, well, I mean, we said pace advantage, but as you say all day, they've been looking very equal. But even then, even if it's just half a tenth here, half a tenth there, that might be enough to hold on. Whereas Holmer is on the primaries, the same as Manson and Sundstrom. And Manson, I mean, he's coming very strong in this race, isn't he? He's already caught up to Holmer, to be honest. And I know Holmer's just been overtaken, but still, this is looking very good from these couple of drivers. Remember, Manson, I mean, he's down in 9th place in the standings, coming into Sundstrom down in 12th place. But really, they should be a little bit higher. They did miss a couple of rounds, at least Manson has missed a couple of rounds, so that is why his points are a little bit less as well. But certainly coming fast in this championship, and he might have Holmer already in towards Yun Sao. We said before, that's not overtaking place, but yeah, at least has a look.
Just for now, 7 laps to go now as they make their way up to the line, so time very much on the side here of Manson and Sundstrom. Here goes Manson around the outside, and he was on the button just coming out of the corner, so he should be fine. He's finding it a little bit difficult to get alongside and properly through here. How much does Holmer fight him? Oh, very hard by the looks of things, and locks up into turn 1. In the end, it was handed on a plate to Manson, but Holmer was willing to fight him for it.
Classic move there and towards turn 1. We'll see it once again. Olsen on the outside. Harner actually chooses not to defend, despite Harner being on those alternate tyres. So Olsen up into that 9th position. But for Manson there, he let Holmer go up the inside because it's so easily done, because the corner naturally turns a little bit into the braking zone anyway. You're always trail braking, even on the racing line. So especially when you're on the inside of the corner, it's even worse, and it's very easy to lock up the tyre. And that's exactly what Holmer did. Manson saw it coming and managed to slide back through down the inside.
Can Sundstrom now do the same? He's not been quite as quick as Manson here, and again his race pace compared to his qualifying pace has left something a little bit on the table. Stiller gets past Ericsson with a bit of a slide, holds it this time though, and now is in 13th place as Oliver Hagström Viggersjö, by the way, is in the pit lane, and that's for a I think I saw him in last lap. Was I seeing things? He's stopped again now though. He's actually come to a stop, and he will be down to 17th place. So that stop he made earlier was not enough to see him through to the end. He's got to make another one, and he's going to finish down in 17th place. That is going to be a loss of at least 36 points if things stand to Henrik Lindhoff.
As Sundstrom gets through and Holmer. So turn 1, 2 laps in a row, Holmer loses places and nearly on pace, is looking good. And of course Manson now is going to be looking at Olsen, I should say, up ahead. So there's definitely a podium on the cards for one of these drivers. Of course, Manson's been the faster of the pair throughout the whole race so far, but you never know what is going to happen. Maybe Sundstrom can sneak his way up there, but he has lost a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time to his teammate over the course of these battles, and definitely been a slightly more difficult race for him. Although actually, I say that Manson actually is just locking up there, coming through the hairpin.
Big lock up, but it's very easy to do on the unloaded front tyre there, heading into turn 10. And certainly create a flat spot very easily indeed. Stiller and Ericsson have reversed positions again. We saw earlier on the pass when Ericsson had gotten through. Well, Stiller has overtaken, and that battle for 13th rumbles on. That's one of the only other battles out on the circuit at the moment, if we're not counting really Sundstrom and Holmer. And Sundstrom's going to find a bit of a problem here with, it's one of his teammates, so that helps. But even so, it's a pretty bit. And there we go, gets out of the way. But under a bit of pressure here from Holmer in this battle for 5th place. 5 laps to go now to hang on.
Yeah, that was Oliver Hagström Viggersjö getting out of the way. P17. What a big race for his championship hopes. He needed to gain something. He needed to put the pressure on Lindhoff coming into the final round of the season in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time. But unfortunately getting involved in that big accident. Was it Casper Bjork, maybe one of those team car? Anyway, coming down the Retroposta, and unfortunately that is taking him really out of the contention, because Lindhoff is going to be scoring some solid points once again. Of course, even in the series with drop scores, you have to be limiting the races where you have issues, and unfortunately for Viggersjö, just getting caught up there.
Still maintain that it wasn't really his fault, to be honest, but But there you go, not a lot. But that doesn't really do a lot for him now, whether it was his fault or not. He's ended up with a lot of damage. He's ended up finishing down in 17th, unless he can catch 12 seconds in 4 laps here. That seems a bit of a stretch. So it's going to be 17th and a net loss on the day as well. Don't forget that Lindhoff finished in 13th, I think it was, wasn't it, in the first race. So Lindhoff has done better than Oliver Hagström-Visu in his worst result by a few positions, and he's done better than him in his better result as well by a couple of positions. But and that obviously totals at least 10 points that he's gained there, maybe 20 at the end of the day. So as I said earlier, I think that championship margin now is going to be around 60, if not edging towards 70. Edwin Forsland is going to be a very long way behind now as well, after finishing all the way down in 21st in the opening race.
So what that basically means is it's going to be championship decided in the first race at Indianapolis, unless by default, effectively, unless there's any major issues, and potentially we need a larger grid number as well for the finishing position. Today the worst is 23rd. Obviously, if there's 35, 40 cars, the less points you're going to get from finishing last. So Lindhoff is looking very strong for this championship, but he needs to obviously just keep it going through the final couple laps here, and then take it nice and calm when we get to Indianapolis. No stress, I'm sure. And come back to a battle on the track. Uvinen, he's had a strong day up inside that top 10, but is he going to be losing another place here? Big send down the inside from Olsen. Is late, but is brave, and he makes his way through.
Nicely done. 8th place for Olsen. And look at that, over 30 seconds off the leader, but he'll be pleased with that. And I think very pleased, mainly because he's made 2 stops in this race. We saw him coming in not so long ago. He's a bit further behind where he was earlier, of course, but he's right in the game after making those stops, and good recovery from him, from considering the opening part of the race that he's had, and to get rid of Uvinen as quickly as this has been pretty impressive indeed. Olsen is not a feature in the championship, of course. He's only been at a few of the rounds so far this season. He's missed quite a few, so he's down outside the top 30. But this is a nice top 10 finish for him by the looks of things as the race winds down now. The battles are coming fewer and further between. It's been a lot less carnage in this second race, not least in terms of crashes, but battles as well have gotten a little bit quiet too.
Oh, they certainly have. But at the front, actually, Forsen, he went over 8 seconds. He's now down to 5. So Forsen does have some pace on these alternate tyres, but not enough. The gap was just a little bit too big. And the battle for the podium, actually, Manson has caught Osland with a lap and a half to go. This is a nice, tasty opportunity. Both of these drivers, they've gained 16 positions. They started next to each other on the grid, but just how will they finish it? Is it going to be the number 90 machine, or will the 127 find a way through?
I think the odds will be in Osland's favour here, but he has been caught relatively quickly. Last time around it was 6/10 of a second, for example. That's not a small amount of time at all. It was actually the fastest lap of the, or personal best fastest lap for Alwyn Manson last time round. The overall fastest lap being held by Robin Osland with a 1:17.3, so he'll be getting the point for that going into the end of this race. But can he hold on here? One last run in towards turn 1 for Alwyn Manson, because the white flag's waving now, and he seems far too far back here. Well, he has a look, because he sort of has to, but he's going to have to get inventive now.
Oh, he is, and he's going to have to do a big send. First opportunity is going to be turn 4. How much push to pass do they have? He's on the slower tyres, but he's got the fire in his belly as he works his way down his back straight. Defensive move already for Austin to the outside. It's going to be for Manson. Austin defends hard. Does he go too deep? It's going to be up the inside for turn 5 as they run up the hill.
He needs to keep it tighter at turn 4, ideally, to keep Manson behind him. Now he's got him on the outside at Ferradura. This is something you don't see pulled off very often, and Manson's not quite going to do it here either. It would have been spectacular if it worked out, but it's very, very tricky, and so Manson again is going to have to invent another new way of trying to get through. Maybe turn 10. Oh, he has a look at the inside, but Austin was expecting it. He'll pull to the outside line, he'll get a late apex, and here he goes down the hill. Oh, he's throwing everything at it, and he can't quite do it. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Henrik Lindhoff is going to cross the line here at Interlagos to win race 2 and, more importantly, extend his championship lead to over 60 points going into the final round, where there is only 103 available. It is Östlund versus Manson for third. Meanwhile, the photo finish, and it's the drive from behind. Oh no, he doesn't quite get there, does he? I think our timing screen is still trying to figure out who's taken it, and it is Manson who's taken it in the end. In the photo finish for the win in race 1, it was the driver ahead who held on. In that case, Robin Östlund. He couldn't do it again, though. Östlund finishes second of a photo finish for the second time tonight.
He tried his hardest. He went as far to the inside as he could through that final kink, but it wasn't quite enough. Manson getting the podium and gaining some 16 positions in the end. Forsen 19 up in P2. We had some carnage on the opening lap again, but the racing continued on. Some nice battles actually here at Interlagos, going all the way to the flag. But in the end, it was a pretty dominant drive. Once Lindhoff got into second place, it was kind of just waiting for him to get to the lead, and then at that point, championship leader, he's got the pace, and no one saw him after that one.
Certainly not. It was a dominant win for Henrik Lindhoff here at Interlagos. It's his 4th of the season, which gives him double of anyone else now. Edvin Forsland is in second, ahead of Albin Manson, who does beat Robin Östlund to the line. Mikael Sundström round out the top 5 with Daniel Holmer 6th, Fitzpeter Hambro, Alexander Olsen, who made 2 stops in that race, 8th ahead of Tony Uvenen, and Philip Hahn rounding out the top 10. Oliver Hagström figures you did get the fastest lap, by the way. He finished down in 17th off the lead lap with Bjorn Broström and Kalle Wallström. Last ones on the lead lap were Oscar Motin, Marcus Hackman, Robert Eriksson and Marcus Stiller. That goes down to 14th place. Semi Josseltu and Jock Frisk did finish the race as well. Unfortunately, though, after opening incidents, Kasper Björk, Hakan Schott, Cedric Holmbom and Oliver Wallin all retired from the race very early on indeed, as you can see there, after 1 or 2 laps because of everything that went on and how violent it was at the start of the race. Let's have a chat to the race winner, though, of the race number 2, Henrik Lindhoff. Welcome in, Henrik. Good to have you with us. And let's start with race number 2. Happier returns for you this time around. You started inside the top 10 for race 2, and you got to the battle for the lead very, very quickly indeed. Tell us about the start of that second race.
Yeah, it was a good start, I think. I took it really cautious and just tried to stay alive in the first corners, and I knew I had the pace after that. So then it was just controlling the race, really. For some reason, I seem to be a lot better on the reds than I am on the blacks, but today it was good enough.
Absolutely. How are you feeling about the final round now? Because you effectively took 1 step back with Oliver really gaining on you in race 1 in the championship. Now you've taken a step forward ahead, and I think your lead is going to be just slightly bigger than it was tonight at the end of the race. How are you feeling about the final round in 2 weeks' time?
Well, it's a shame because I can't make the race. So I guess you need to take your calculators out and see what positions I think Oliver and maybe Edvin as well, where they will get. So that will be my 2 drop rounds. So this is it, actually. Okay,
you're right. We will have to get our calculators out. And figure it out in 2 weeks' time. Thanks very much for joining us this season, though. It's been a pleasure to watch you all throughout, and taking another win. You're probably going to end up with the most race wins, to be honest, even despite missing the last couple of rounds. So congratulations on that, and a good season. Hopefully you can hang on, but we'll see. Thanks so much for coming to chat to us, though.
Yeah, thank you guys. Great broadcast as always. Bye.
Thanks very much. Henrik Lindhoff there, the race winner from race 2. Edvin Forsland finished in second place in race 2, chasing him down at the end there. 5.1 seconds the gap at the end. Welcome in, Edvin. A much better race 2 for you. We'll chat about that first. Tell us about that run through the field. 19 places gained. You won't be surprised to learn that's the most of anybody. How did you do it?
I just licked the stamp and sent it. After the first race, I was like, I'm probably out of the championship now, so I'm just gonna send it. And it just worked. Everyone was slowing down when people were crashing in front, and I would just kept my foot to the floor partly because I saw that they wouldn't hit me. So, but Yeah, I just sent it the second race. So, yeah.
You say you thought you were at the championship. I don't know if you know this, but Henrik Lindhoff not able to be at the final round in 2 weeks' time means that you are involved in the championship fight, and you are actually second. You moved ahead of Oliver Hagström-Vigazoo with that result there by just 3 points, mind, but still you are just about ahead of him. So tell us a little bit, first of all, about how things started to go for you tonight in race 1 on lap number 1. That incident you mentioned that may have put an end to your championship chances, but then with Henrik away, tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about the next round in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew that Henrik wouldn't be at the next one because, of course, yeah, we're in the same team, so yeah, he's told us. But yeah, it's a shame that he can't be there. But of course, I'm gonna try and take the opportunity. But I would have been way more optimistic if I didn't get the off track on the pit exit in the second race. Because then I would be 5 points closer than I am now. So yeah, but overall, I'm looking forward to the next one to see what happens.
Even more impressive that you did all that with only 1 incident point, so fair enough for that. Congratulations on second place here tonight in race 2, Evan, and we look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, Evan Forsen there, the second place driver from race 2. Welcome, that makes things very interesting indeed. Henrik Lindhoff won't be here for the final round of the season, so effectively we know his final score already, and it puts him 85 points ahead of Evan Forsen and 88 points ahead on Oliver Hagström-Vigazoo. There's a lot to sort out at the Indianapolis road course in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, definitely. And those points, if it's a double win from Forsen, maybe gets a couple of the bonus points like he was talking about, you never know what is going to happen. So you have to join us in a couple of weeks' time to find out who the champion is going to be.
Yep, Robin Osland, I think, might mathematically have a chance, but he also needs a miracle, so that could be quite difficult for him. But either way, it's going to be mainly down to Evan Forsen, Oliver Hagström-Vigazoo, and if they can catch Henrik Lindhoff as well. So make sure you join us in 2 weeks' time to find out who's going to be the champion of the Indy Series here at the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We'll be back for the Oval Series in 1 week's time, of course, 8 p.m. CET, as always. It's been myself, Ian Leary, Cam Roger, alongside me here this evening with Hugo Louise behind the cameras. And until we see you in 1 week's time for the Oval Series again, it's goodbye for now.